I love this mask. I've got new lipstick, ladies. My other one was red and I'm on orange now. Isn't that fantastic? And you can't tell if I'm laughing or not, but I am now. Still steaming up a bit, but far, far better. This fantastic mask has come from Jenny again. I loved the other one, the one for his lordship and from me, and I messaged her and I said, Jenny, can you make some more, because I'd like some for my daughter who works in a surgery. She works in the office. She types out the notes to go to the consultants, and I thought it would be nice for her to have one of these on when she's working. And so Jenny, and then I said I'd like some for the granddaughters as well. So she sent me some up, but I kept this one for myself because I used to love, or when I was 16, 17, I used to like orange lipstick. So this one is just the one I want. Anyway, my daughter, because she works in a surgery and because they, oh, sorry, hang on, get you in the right position. Because my daughter works in a surgery, they all had to have their vaccines against patients coming in with COVID. And they had the vaccines 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And she works in the office that types out notes that are going to be passed from the doctor to the consultants. But one of the other rooms, they take the prescriptions, and they all had their injections at the vaccines at the same time. And apparently one of the girls who was in the prescriptions area got COVID even after she'd had this vaccine. So when you, and of course obviously the whole group had to isolate, which was a bit of a problem because they all did the prescriptions, and I think they had to try and sort something out. But basically what the point I'm trying to make is that when you have your vaccine, it doesn't necessarily mean that the minute you walk out that door you're going to be safe from getting COVID. I think she may have not got as bad a COVID, but you know, this vaccine doesn't kick in for a few weeks. So do not expect that when you get the vaccine, if you're going to get the vaccine, that you will be totally devoid of catching anything, because you can. Plus, we've just heard today in the British news that apparently this new COVID strain that we have, they think it's more deadly than the one before that. And so we'll just have to be very, very careful. So Jenny sent me this mask, which I absolutely love, along with another, I think she sent me 3 or 4 of these. 3 of them have gone down to my daughter, and she sent a black one with a lovely dragony type of embroidery on, and another one which unfortunately I didn't take a picture of, but she had written on in text something, please wash your hands, and then no, seriously. So I figured my kids would love that. I asked you, where do you cut your fabric? And because I was interested to know, as we get older, whether you cut it on a table or on the floor. I much prefer to cut on the floor. I like it, especially when I've got a lot, you know, like if I've got a long piece of fabric and I've got to cut 2 half-circle skirts, I like it on the floor to spread it right out. And I've got a knack of going down. When I go down, I put my legs apart like that, and I do things like that. Put things across like that, and then I get up and I know that I've got extra, and then I stretch to one side and then I stretch to the other. But then I have to get down on the floor sometimes, and when I get down on the floor, yes, it's a bit of a challenge, but I like to make myself have a bit of a challenge, because my father, when he was 90 odd, 93 when he died, I've told you as many times, but he got this stair lift, and he didn't get it until he was 92 or 91 and a half, something like that. And I kept saying, for years before that, we kept saying, Dad, why don't you get a stair lift? And he says, if I do not use it, I will lose it. So I'm kind of the same way. I keep thinking, well, get down on the floor when you have to, because if you don't, you know, if you get down, one of these days you'll never be able to get up, and I do worry about that. I do mine from the dining table if I do it. and I've got a little table in the other room that I use sometimes, but they're low, and I'm only 5'1", but I find that just leaning over like this, kind of half leaning over, doing that, I end up with a back pain, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. And Patricia sent me a picture of her sewing room, and she has these big risers on the feet of her table, which I rather like because they also have sockets down the side for to plug your sewing machine in. So I thought that was rather good. I've never seen those, so if anybody knows where you can get them from in England and the USA, do let us know. Andrea Ryan, she says, I definitely cut on a table now. I'm in my 50s, but always used to cut on the floor when I was younger. More by luck than judgment, I bought 3 self-sealing mats that fit my dining table perfectly. I use a mixture of scissors for curves and rotary cutter for straight lines. I have to say that cutting out is my least favourite task. Well, I would agree with you there as well. I've tried cutting out with a rotary cutter, and I'm not overly keen on that. I prefer scissors. I prefer to use scissors. I wouldn't say cutting out's my least favourite, but I'm going to ask you another question at the end of this and see what your responses are. I do read all your responses. I have read them, and I've just only this evening acknowledged quite a lot of you. My son says, Mum, apparently 70 is the new 50. And I said, well, I feel 50 quite often, but I certainly don't feel 50 when I'm stood up on a chair and I've got to get down off it. Once upon a time, if I stood up on a chair and tried to step down, I'd jump down. But these days you're thinking, whoa, hey, be careful. My dad, he used to have a shop. One of his shops when he was a jeweller was an upstairs shop. And in order to get to it, I went up these, and there were steep steps up, and all the customers used to say, your stairs are steep, they're very steep. And I said, oh, I've never noticed that, of course, and me being young. And I always ran up them 2 at a time. And I promised myself that I'd know when I was getting old if I couldn't either run up them 2 at a time or run down them 2 at a time. And now I'm going, sometimes I can get up at 2 at a time, but if I do, then by the time I get to the top, I'm absolutely gasping. And sometimes, because our stairs they go down, then there's a landing, then they go down, then there's a landing, and then they go down. And I was telling his lordship this, I said, when I go down the stairs, I sometimes go down backwards for the first lot and forwards for the second lot. I find it a lot easier. So, but yes, it does get harder as you get older. Nora Scott, she said one that I'd never heard of, and a couple of you told me this. She said, table now, but I've used my bed, but she says it's a back breaker. And a couple of you said that you put your cutting pads onto the bed because the bed's nice and big. You put your cutting pads on, you know what I mean, those big pads, and that you that she cuts it out, lays it on there and cuts it out. So that I've never heard of that before, but I would imagine, you know, if you haven't got space, or you've got everybody rushing around in other rooms, it's probably a good idea. Then why am I here? She says, hi Michu, I cut the pattern out and pin it to the fabric, then cut the fabric on a table. Yes, I've always done it that way, on whatever sort of table I had handy. By the time I get all that done, I usually have to wait till the next day to start sewing. I was so pleased to read that, because that's another thing that I find. Once I've cut the fabric out, I'm so ready. I was kind of thinking, oh, we'll start on that tomorrow. It's on the odd occasion now, if it's something small and I can get it cut in about 10 seconds or in 10 minutes, then I'll go and sew it. But most of the time I think, whew, I need a rest from that. Christina Tippers. Cutting I do on a small sewing table using a large cutting mat, or using a large cutting board on bed using scissors. Either way, I'm normally cutting around the cat. She likes to lay straight across the middle every time. Too right, our cats do the same. She says, I use scissors or rotary, whatever, for the job. Wish I could use the floor. It's a huge no-no for my spine. I have to pace myself cutting around pattern one day, then sewing on another. And that's coming over from a lot of you. Then Mary Baker. Love the masks, they were hilarious. Thank you, Jenny, for a good laugh. That's from her, not from me. Well, I'm saying thank you, Jenny, but she's saying thank you, Jenny, for a good laugh. Look, laugh. Could you explain how you did the mending? Now, in that take 5, this is related to the take 5 that I showed you. And in that take 5, there was a little video of how a hole was fixed on a jacket. And I called it, It Caught My Eye. The title of that section was It Caught My Eye. And what I'm going to do is, I keep coming across in certain places on Instagram or other places something that catches my eye, and that caught my eye. I didn't do it. It was a Japanese company that repairs holes, and they'd actually filmed this, and it caught my eye, and I thought, how interesting the way they did it, because they put the fabric over, they matched the fabric pattern, they put the fabric over, and they pulled the thread so there was a frayed edge all the way around, and then they used the needle with thread to pull each of those frayed edge pieces through the fabric so that it was all bound on together and you didn't see where the join was. So I didn't do it. It was a Japanese company who did it, and they did a very, very good job, because when it was finished you couldn't see where the join was. So when it comes to section It Caught My Eye, I'm going to show you things that catch my eye. Might be to do with sewing, might not be to do with sewing, might be to do with a style of something or anything. It could be anything. Something that's caught my eye that I think you might be interested in watching. Then Billy Blue Sheepy. I loved this one. I can't see your question. I've got rubbish eyesight. But I'm guessing from people's answers, your question is, where do you cut out your patterns? Now listen to this, because I can tell you something else about this. I cut out my patterns on a mat on the floor, but then I do almost everything on the floor. I play, I cook, I eat, and I sleep. Now I don't know what nationality Billy Blue Sheepy is, but I was quite surprised when his lordship's brother, who is married to a Thai girl and lives in Thailand, we haven't been to visit them yet. He's been there, he's lived there a long time. He works for a company in England, and he built a house, and this house is like a big bungalow, and his lordship's mother's been to visit him several times, and she came back and she said, it's a lovely house, but she said the kitchen is tiny, and she says she does all her cooking on the floor. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. She says they do all the cooking on the floor. And I was quite taken aback, because obviously we aren't used to that. And then she said, what else did she say? Then she keeps putting pictures up on our Facebook pages, and the bed's on the floor, and they sleep on the floor. And I'm thinking, whoa, that's different. But it's just because we're not used to it. So anyway, I cut out my patterns on a mat on the floor, but then I do almost everything on the floor. For example, play, cook, eat and sleep. You see, we all have different ways of doing things. Having said that, whenever we go to people's houses, and this is a big worry for me, because when we go to people's houses, I always sit on the floor. I like to sit on the floor. I don't want to sit on the furniture. I like to sit on the floor and rest my back on the sofa. It doesn't matter where it is. And there's times where all the young ones say, no, come and sit here. And I'm going, no, seriously, I want to sit on the floor. And this is my big worry, because as I get older, it does get harder to get up off the floor, but I want to keep sitting on the floor. It's just something I've done ever since I was about 18, 20, going to parties. I always used to sit on the floor, going to other people's houses. I think it was because in those days there were so many people and there weren't enough chairs. I used to say, oh, I'll sit on the floor. And now I've got to the stage where I just sit on the floor. So it's going to be quite awkward as I get older and I can't get up. And several of you mentioned that Burda, if you go to the Burda website, you can actually download the patterns. I went to have a look at them just before this video, but I never got right to the end. I don't know if you can find out if you don't want to pay, but the prices are about £8 or £9, and it says you can download them as a PDF. but whether it downloads individually size by size, I don't know. You'll be able to tell us a bit more, but at least they can, if they do download it to your own size, that makes life a lot easier. There were some quite nice patterns on that website compared with what was in the magazine, I have to say. Then Penguin and Pear, Claire, said, the Birder woman is what I call curvy, not plus size. It reminds me of Sophie Dahl, who was labelled a plus size for the catwalk, and yet she was a UK size 12. I remember that. She was a big tall girl, big boned, but she was always classed as a plus size, but she wasn't. Also, the images in the magazine are probably shot to make her look more plus size than she is. I used to buy Birder, but they were about 2 sizes too small for me, so I never made them up. You got me in stitches. Hi Anna. She asked a question. She said, do you still make anything from Tailor Nova? No, I don't, Anna. I paid to join that. I was very disappointed in the patterns that I downloaded, in the fact that they were just absolutely not to fit me, even though I put the full measurements in, and I thought, no, they might be better in a few years time, but they're not. I don't want to be the guinea pig with them. And Teresa Castile said, if I had to trace a pattern, I'd never sew. I found PDFs and never looked back. I quit sewing for years because they put all sizes on one pattern. It makes me crazy trying to cut out size that I need. Love PDF with layers. I print the size that I want. Now that is the question that I want to ask next. I'm going to ask, what I want to know is, let's find out from all of you, when you get a pattern like this that has to be cut, what do you do?
When you buy a pattern and you're going to cut it out, do you cut to the required size, that's your own body size, or do you cut to the largest size that's on that pattern, or do you trace the size that you want onto another piece of tracing paper and then cut that out?
I got some patterns, just a couple, just 2 patterns, but I quite fancy making them. I actually bought this the other week and I haven't shown you it, and it was, don't know how many of you watch Escape to the Chateau in France. Well, of course, his lordship wants to buy a chateau, doesn't he? And I keep saying you can't get one. And the people in England have bought these chateaus dirt cheap about 10 years ago, and of course he's going, can we not go to France and get one? And I'm going, no. Anyway, we like to watch Escape to the Chateau, and Angel, the wife of Dick Strawbridge, always wears jumpsuits, and she's not a slim woman, but she always looks good in them. So I thought, oh, I wonder if I could make a jumpsuit. So I've looked around at all the jumpsuits, and I wanted more of a boiler type suit rather than a jumpsuit, but something that's quite flattering as well. And I've got some denim, which I've got 2 lots of denim. One that Jenny got me from here, and one that I bought before that. So I quite fancy making a jumpsuit sometime eventually. But I don't want it to be gathered at the back because I've got a big bottom. So I don't want it to be don't want it to go blue. And so I saw this one and I thought this was quite nice. And it's McCall's M7908. I thought this was really nice. I like this one, and I like with the 3/4 sleeves on there. It would probably be either that one or that one. Probably that one because I don't have very nice arms, or at least it's not that I don't have very nice arms. It's that I don't want to show them off. And that is the back view. Back view here. I wouldn't put pockets on the back because that draws your attention to the bottom. But yes, I quite like that. So I might just make one of those. And then the other one that I saw, now who was it? On Instagram, this girl had one on an Instagram thing, which was It Caught My Eye. This is an It Caught My Eye bit, but I'm not going to put it under an It Caught My Eye. Let me just see if I can find this. I happened to catch my eye on this Katie Courtman art. Katie Courtman. It's a mouthful, this, isn't it? Katie Courtman art, and she made the Elodie dress. Now it's on Instagram, but I'm going to show you her. I hope you can see her. Let me get you in focus. She's actually made it two-coloured. She's lovely and slim, of course, which I'm not, but I thought it was really, really nice. So what did I do? I went and ordered the Elodie dress pattern, and I did look to see where it was the cheapest, and the cheapest place that I found it was someone who apparently, it's a new shop that's opened, and I said I would give them a mention on my video, and they are called Stitch and Stash. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick flick through to let you see what Stitch and Stash, what kind of fabrics they sell. The nice thing is they sell by the metre, they don't sell by the half metre. Like everything else, it's not cheap, but there's some lovely fabrics there. So yes, this was where they had the cheapest pattern. I normally don't like to spend this amount of money, but I did like that pattern. I have liked that pattern before I saw that video, and I've been tempted to buy it, and I kept saying I'm not paying that, I'm not paying that. But then I thought, yeah, I might just get it. So that is the Elodie. It will be the longer version that I make, and there is the back view. I will do the longer version here with the long caftan sleeves and see how that turns out. So I'll just do a little thing of Stitch and Stash for you to see what their website's like. Number 3. Look what I bought. You will be saying, a dress book? Well, everybody has dress books. But this, I decided that this is going to be a special address book, because as I get older, I'm starting to try and tidy out. I'm trying to declutter and to tidy up my sewing room. It's taking a long time. If I was a young girl about 15 years younger, I'd have this all cleared up and tidied up in no time. But it's not getting very far very fast. So, but the one thing I'm finding is when I'm coming to doing something, I'm thinking, where did I put my walking foot? Is it in here? Is it in there? Is it in there? So I figured, Here, I'm going to use this for where everything is, because as I get older, I'm going to forget. So under W, I'm going to put walking foot and tell me where it is. The only downside is I've got to put it back in the place that I've said it was. Otherwise, this is going to be a waste of time. So I'm working my way through things. I haven't started yet, but I figured that what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter and put things in here of everything to do with sewing, where I've got things, because I'm just you know, I mean, for example, the what do you call it, the waterproofing fabric bot jar, I didn't know where it was, and I eventually found it was up on the shelf up here. Then other things that I was looking for, I couldn't find them, and they're up here and up there. I do have little signs on my boxes, which I will show you one day, but I just thought, oh, put it in there, it'll be a lot easier to look after and to manage, and that can go, this is the bit, that can go into this drawer, but then I'll be thinking, where did I put it? No, actually, I'll put it up with my books, because I've got a shelf up here with little books in, notebooks, and it will go up there. So that's a very quickie. I've got myself an address book. I also got myself a calendar for before Christmas, a write-on, wipe-off calendar. It is empty. There's nothing on it. There's nothing in the future on it. There will be nothing in the future until I know what the heck's going to be happening with our lives. But at the moment, it's totally blank. So that's my address book. Number 4 is someone on Instagram, a lovely, lovely lady on Instagram called Corrie, who has an Instagram post, and she calls herself Ceramic 67, and she makes little ceramic things. She's a sewer, and she makes little ceramic things and puts them into cards. She does all sorts of lovely things, really worth checking out. And she saves, over a year, she's saved old postcards, she's saved photographs. If she's gone into second-hand shops and seen things, she's bought them, and she uses them and recycles them. At the moment, she's busy doing buckles and buttons and making them into brooches. So I think it was last year, a couple of things caught my eye, and they were birthday cards, but I liked them so much that I wanted to keep them, and I framed them, and these are them. I'll get them down because they're over here on my wall. And they're actually cards, but they are, I don't know if you can see. This is the ceramic that she's made. She's sewn a button on. This is fabric that she's kept. She's tied some thread to the back of this button, and this is some pattern paper that she had, some kind of paper, and she's just stuck them all onto a card. And I thought it's too nice for me to give it away. So I made that, I framed it, and the framing stuff I've got here is that it's actually this stuff. If I can get it out. It's actually just framey foam, and I backed it onto that in purple. I thought that was lovely, and that goes on my wall. And the other one that I got was this one, which was very something similar. I think it's the same fabric. I'm not sure. It looks like the same fabric, but it's the same thing. A ceramic paper clip, buttons, a real button sewn on. I don't know if you can see it three-dimensionally. There's 2 real buttons there, that and that one. And then she's put the fabric on, and she's used some printed paper. It's really, really well put together. And again, as I say, I didn't want to use it for cards. So the other day I saw she happened to say she had some other things, so I thought, oh, I've got to go and get them. So she sent me a box. This box came through the post the other day, and they're beautifully packaged. Each one is packaged like this with a little badge on. And somebody asked me, somebody said, you've got some cards there. I'll show you, hang on, get past my stool. Somebody said, what are the cards here that you've got here? This is a card that I got from Shari in Nova Scotia. This is a card that I got from someone who is, I think she's from Asia. This lady's from Asia, Marcel Ostillo, and she was just writing from. She said she was currently staying in Holland, and she sent that just to say she enjoyed the vlogs. And this is Corrie's card that she sent me the last time, and I thought it was so nice that I put it up there. And Corrie's card, it's of a dress that she's made, and she makes these necklaces as well. And she said, "Thank you, Michelle. You chose some beauties. Hope you like them, Corrie." And she had a little badge. I stuck that on there because I thought it was quite a nice little circular badge as well. So that is her card that she gave me last time. So she's changed her picture on her little discs. The discs now are these little necklaces made of scissors. Aren't they lovely? She does limited productions of them, so you can't always get them. And inside, what she sent is in a card. What does her card say? She sent another card, so that will go up on my wall. And it says Corrie's Fancies Goods. And she says, "Thank you, Micheline. I popped an extra in as a thank you. Hope they find you well, Corrie." And so that will go up on my wall because I think that's a lovely picture. So we'll put that over there because that's going up. And this is what I bought. I can't remember which one was the one that she's given me as a freebie, but the first one, I definitely know that I bought this one. So this one is the mini car. And it says perfect. And the reason why I got that one was my very first car that I got when I first got married was a mini car. It was a yellow one, and I had these little big flowers all over it. Me and my father painted it with a paintbrush, bright yellow. I can't remember what colour it was when we bought it, but I wanted it yellow, so we knew that in those days you couldn't get spray paint, so we bought a tin of gloss paint and we painted the whole of the body of the car bright yellow. I loved it. I really loved it. My mother had an orange one. She got one and she painted hers orange. So I thought that was nice. So that's going to be framed as well. And then the next one that I got was this one. And that's got a little pair of scissors on. And I should take it out of here because you can't really see it very well. Hold on. That one. And that is obviously the Harris. When you buy Harris wool, you get one of these. And sometimes we don't use it. We don't put it on. So she's used that to make it with a photograph, and just taken an old photograph where some people have a sheep and a dog, and it says wool. And then the thread comes down from behind there. It's sewn on with a button. That's another. It's just a blank card. There's nothing in there. So that would be framed. And then the next one was this one. This one, which is a pair of scissors and buttons. These are real buttons that just sewn on. And a piece of fabric, blue fabric, and it says stitching. And she's actually done a little bit of stitching down the side. And lastly was a bigger one. I'm running out of batteries, so I'll have to hurry up. And this one was the one with the bulldog clip again, buttons that this is an old thing with buttons and some fabric. Aren't they lovely? Really novel ideas, and I just thought they were really too nice not to buy. So thank you, Corrie. I have sent you an email to say thank you. They are absolutely wonderful. And lastly, I'm finishing off what I should have done before the end of the year, and that is my quilting calendar. Someone also pointed out that I haven't been doing my quilt, so my quilt almanac from last year. I've just got, I think it's maybe 1 or 2 quilts left to show you, and this one is the Favourite Things quilt, and that is what it looks like. And 24 by 34, block size 10 by 10 finished, and block count 6. And there's the teddy bear. There's the acorn. I'm assuming it's an acorn. There's the flower. There's the bird. Sorry, I've got a grotty elastoplast on here. I've skinned a piece of the skin at the side of my thumb and it's really sore. And I'm due a change of my, it's definitely due a change, so apologies for it. Apologies for the state of it. And then a bird, and then a bow, pineapple, and that takes us to the 26th, 27th, and then we go on to another one. And this is the Isle of Winter quilt. That's a rather nice one. It's a square one. And the square one is 32 by 32, block size 8 by 8 finished, and block count 9. And this one has the cherries, the trees, the snowflake, and that's it. So that is the almanac all done. The quilting almanac all done. I didn't get one for this year. It hardly seemed worth it. But I've got some really exciting things for you for this year. I know a lot of you liked my Vlogmas, so I might be interspersing a bit of a Vlogmasy type of thing in amongst the rest of my vlogs. I've just got to get my head together and sort it out. So, at that, I'm definitely going to love you, and I'm going to leave you, and I'll catch you next time.